Hey, this is Chris Gore. You're listening to Dr. Gonzo Radio on Dr. Gonzo Piqua something.com. I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, we'll have Zach. I'll have Zach do the next bumper.
So, hey, Dr. Gonzo's here.
Put a dime in him, you gotta let the whole song play out.
He's like human jukebox.
Oh, he's a talker, ain't he?
He's an old fat grandpa man.
Our parents were the greatest generation. Our dads went overseas to fight a war. As soon as they came back, they grabbed our moms and hit the sack, and there they stayed from 1946 to 64, making babies.
Lots of babies.
The baby boomers.
76 million.
And we grew older, but we're not dead yet.
Hail to the king, baby.
I'm so confused.
Hey, this is the Gonz, aka Dr. Gonzo here. We're going to have a chat today, Brett R. Smith and myself. Brett R. Smith is a veteran comic book colorist and commercial artist. He's worked with both DC and Marvel. And we're going to discuss comic books, past and present. And if they're worth buying, just give this is an opinion piece. I'm a boomer and on a radio station, retired drummer, play out weekend warrior stuff once in a while. I have played with back in the 70s into the 80s with Chuck Berry. Gary Lewis and the Playboys was my main gig, and played with Jewel Akins, did a one-off with Buddy Guy, and played with a whole lot of people. And now I'm just enjoying grandchildren, but at 68, I want to say I'm a baby boomer, but sometimes baby boomers get a bad rap. What happens is they think we're like Larry David in New York or something like that. And it's just not true. I love comic books, have since I was able to read. And we're going to be talking about comic books and comic book movies today. So just waiting for Brett to join. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Gonzo, a.k.a. The Gonz, here with Brett R. Smith. Of course, Brett's a comic book colorist, commercial artist, and he's worked for both Marvel and DC, currently a little bit with the Rippaverse.
Yeah.
And Brett, before we get into that, do you have anything you want to plug at first?
Gosh, nothing right now. I'm working on Bloodruth 2. So
okay.
That is going to be, I think, launching soon. And so I don't want to say too much because Eric hasn't said too much. So I don't want to spoil anything. But I think fans will be really pleased if you bought the first Bloodruth. And it's a beautiful book. So
they have an omnibus coming out too, don't they?
Yeah.
In the Rippaverse?
Yeah, which is pretty exciting. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, they're doing some neat things. So they got that action figure of Isom from McFarlane Toys, which turned out really nice. So I don't know.
I haven't seen that.
That's really cool. Yeah. They're doing all kinds of stuff.
I've always thought he's kind of like the Taylor Sheridan of comics. I got Isom 1, of course, and it's just kind of that groove. But let's talk about comics.
Yeah.
When you grew up, and you're Generation X, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, you're Gen X. I'm a boomer.
Yep.
Hey, boomer. When you first started, when did you start reading comics, and what caught your eye, and why did you like comics?
Some of the earlier comics that I read were, I remember I would buy them in the airport, or my dad would buy them in the airport when I was going back and forth from, my mom lived in Colorado and my dad lived in Arizona. So I would frequently go back and forth on Frontier Airlines. And there was a spinner rack in Sky Harbor Airport. Back then. And there was an arcade there in Terminal 2, I think. And there was also a newsstand and a spinner rack. And some of the earlier ones were some Gold Key Flash Gordons, which I really liked. I had seen the movie, and so I loved watching. I love the movie so much. So when I saw those comics on the rack, I obviously wanted some. I still have those actually. and they're really good. But both my brothers, my stepbrothers, who have 8 and 11 years on me, they read comics and they have their own collections. So a lot of the early comics that I read were theirs. So my older brother Ward was a DC guy, had a lot of great old DC stuff from probably the 70s, late 60s, 70s, and the same with my brother, or my older brother Brian, but he was a Marvel guy, so he had a lot of stuff from late 60s and 70s. And these guys, they took care of their comics. They were in great shape. In fact, I still have them. I inherited them when they went off to college, and I've got all their stuff. And I just kind of, it ended up being incorporated into my stuff. It's just all sort of in my long boxes. And so a lot of Superman. I remember a lot of Batman. And then on the Marvel side, a lot of Avengers, a lot of Captain America, some Spider-Man in there, Iron Man. So then that's how I got my taste. So when I started going to the comic book store, Mile High Comics on Broadway, the old one down in Denver back in the day. And then I'd go to All About Books and Comics on, what is that, 7th Street? Used to be 7th Street and Camelback, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I know where that is.
Store. And it's gone now. But that's sort of where, so when I would started going to the comic book store, that's the stuff that I would gravitate towards, and that's typically what I'd buy. But then I discovered, I remember my dad sent me the first couple issues of that Frank Miller, Chris Claremont Wolverine 1982 4-run, series, which I think is still the best Wolverine story ever. Those 4 issues. I remember he bought those at All About and then mailed them to me. I still have those. So then I got interested in Wolverine, and that got me into the X-Men. So, and then of course I had friends who read too, and they were kind of into their own stuff. I had a friend who was really into Fantastic Four. So, it was, it was such a great time to be reading that stuff, because you could go back to the original stuff, and then also with, that I had with my brothers, and then also the new stuff.
And then how did you get into actually working in the comic books? Tell us a little bit about what you colored on, and all that. I'm sure people would be interested in that love comics still.
Yeah, I started working at a comic book store when I was like 12, 13, and it was called Planet Comics in Scottsdale, Arizona, in Scottsdale and Shea. It was right next to the Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is still there. And the comic book store got turned into a gun store, which is kind of cool. But I started working there and just working for trade and working for cash. I would paint the windows on the outside, comic book characters, in order to get traffic. And they paid me for that. Those are like some of my early kind of like commissions, And a lot of time I just worked for trade because I loved comics, so I wanted to expand my collection. But while I was working there, Brian Polito from Chaos Comics, which we used to shop there because their studio was in Scottsdale Air Park, which was a couple miles away. And I was going to college at the time, so I had some portfolio work that I had built up. And Brian and I just we were introduced to each other one day. We just hit it off, and he looked at my stuff. And he thought that my color work was really strong, because obviously I had drawing and I had inking, and I was trying to obviously become like a penciler, which is everyone's dream. But he thought that my coloring work was really strong, and that he asked me if I'd be interested in doing some samples. And I ended up doing some samples for him. He liked them, and he said, I'm going to give you some work. It's probably going to be in about 4 or 5 months. So just keep practicing, and I'll reach out to you when when we're ready. And that's exactly what happened. He gave me had me do some trading cards, and then he gave me a 12-page story in a book called Chaos Quarterly. And Julie Bell did the cover of Lady Death. It's a beautiful cover. But it was Paul Pelletier and Mark Morales on art, and me doing the colors. And that was my first published work, and I ended up doing quite a bit for Chaos. I worked for him for about 1.5 years. So it was a great experience. So.
Well, and then we come a little bit of my comic experience. I started out as a DC guy because I'm older, and I still have I'll flip a picture up in post. Action Comics with Superman and Supergirl and Crypto and Streaky the Cat on there. That was my mom's comics. Every Sunday after we got home from my grandma and grandpa's, we would all lay down on the floor in our living room and read comics. My dad liked Black Hawk, Sergeant Rock and Easy Company.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, and see, we'll talk about James Gunn a little bit later, but he dropped a little bit of Sergeant Rock and Easy Company and Creature Commandos, and it on the backstory of GI Robot, which was pretty cool. I mean, Gunn knows how to reel in those people, and so in those days it was called funny books because a lot of the comics then were funny. You know, Superman would. Red Kryptonite would get a hold of him and he turned had an ant-head or something like that. Real old one. And I also read Gold Key as well. Still got my Magnus Robot Hunter.
That's a great character.
And these covers on this stuff was really good.
Yeah, Gold Key did all those beautiful painted covers. They're just such, and they have really good interior artwork too. They were a great publisher. So I love that character too. I really liked what Shooter did with Valiant and bringing that character back along with doing Exo Man-O-War and all the Valiant line. That was a great time.
So yeah, some of my originals was like the Kryptonite special, Superman Family. Who knows if James Gunn's going to be able to pull off that? I like that he put Metamorpho in there into the movie, which was really good. So I started out there and I got more into when I went on the road late to mid 70s, around 77, 78. We'd opened for the Runaways, and special thanks to Cherie Curry for doing a bumper for me for Cherry Bomb, which was cool. Got to talk with her a little bit. We opened up for them when I was in a band called Alien in Tucson, and then we did a lot of travel time. So that's when I started getting into. That's when around the time Chris Claremont, John Byrne, they took over X-Men.
Yeah,
and I mean the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah, I bought that. I bought that at Mile High in the '80s. I bought the. It was all the issues combined. I still have it. It's like a little graphic novel of that whole Dark Phoenix run, and man, that was just it's just life changing. It's amazing. I just got the graphic novel. It's a buyer's market out there right now, folks. Yeah.
I bought this little gem, which is almost like heresy to me. What an insult to Claremont and John Byrne. The Kamala Khan, and we'll get more into this a little bit later. The whole Kamala Khan thing is more with Legion and stuff like that. But here's, I read a lot of those on the road, and I still have those comics. So we're going to transition into the movies right now, but let me play just a little clip of where I think we're at with the filmmaking.
Not bluffing.
They know. They just don't care.
I mean, I think that's where we're at with the movies. I'm going to pop around a little bit right now, Brett, and get input from you as well. I think Marvel is going in the direction of Kamala Khan. I think they're leading off with the zombies. I have nothing against Iman Vellani, but she clicks a box there because she's the first Muslim superhero. And I don't care about that stuff. I don't care about
nobody does either.
What your religion is, what your sexual preference is. In polite society, we don't ask. It doesn't matter. Is a person nice or not? But I think Kevin Feige is going to double down on DEI. It's not going away. Girl power is not going to go away with Marvel. And there's rumors around about Ryan Reynolds replacing Feige, but those are just rumors. Now, would I go for that? Yeah, because Ryan Reynolds knows how to make money and he can make the fans happy. Let me make a point on that. Deadpool and Wolverine the kids watch different stuff these days. People were, had complaints about DC with Peacemaker, which we'll get into that as well. And that was pretty graphic.
Yeah.
But, Deadpool and Wolverine did not get to over $1 billion with just adults watching it. So I was in the theater and people loved Deadpool and Wolverine. And there were a lot of kids in there. Now, there were words used in there that I had to have. One word was used. I don't know. It wasn't a bad word. It was pegging. And I had to, I didn't know what that referenced. And so I asked one of my sons, I said, what does pegging mean? And Steven goes, Dad, I'm not comfortable talking with you about that. Could you just Google it, please? And then I thought, I Googled it. I thought, Deadpool 1. Okay, right. I get it now, but it's gross stuff. But Ryan Reynolds also knows how to make good movies for kids. The Adam Project on Netflix is a perfect example of that, where he goes through the past and the future. So who knows with Marvel, but I don't think they're going to give up DEI at this time. I think they're really going to focus on Kamala Khan, reason being during Daredevil Born Again. That's what I'll call that series. They had Kamala Khan's dad in there. He was at the bank or whatever, and he was talking her up. Kamala Khan is the first mutant in the MCU. In the comics, she had Terrigen Mist, I think, and was an Inhuman. So it's a little bit different. But I don't mind Iman Vellani, but I don't think she's that good of an actress. She's like a Nickelodeon level actress. She's not as good as like Daphne Keane, who's intense, who can hold her own on screen with Hugh Jackman, as Wolverine. And if you see the early audition tapes with Daphne Keane when she was little,
no, she's got screen presence. She's got screen presence, whether she's a star or not. I don't know. I mean,
I think that's out, but I like her. I think she does a good job on film. She was in The Acolyte. I didn't know that till after the fact. I had watched that, and she was a little horned Jedi.
Okay.
And she did a good job. Yeah. I think Millie Bobby Brown does a good job in some movies,
she's definitely got probably I think she's got some star power. She could be, she's got a lot of chops. She's very talented, but these movies used to be stacked with stars, really, high powered, high caliber stars. Like where's Michael Fassbender? Where's, Kelsey Grammer. I just think about all the people that have been in the X-Men movies when they were intent on casting big names, talent, and having sort of this big rounded out ensemble. And even guys like Matt, what's his name? Marsden, who played Cyclops, great actor, really skilled. Yeah. Halle Berry. I don't understand what they're doing. I
don't think they understand what they're doing.
Other than spending all their money on the special effects and the CGI and making these 2-hour movies when they should be making probably like hour and 40-minute movies. I was looking at, they're going to release the director's cut of Rocky IV into the theater. And that was Stallone's project during COVID. During COVID, he had nothing to do and he couldn't film anything. So he went back and he recut Rocky IV. It's called Rocky versus Drago. And he did a great job. I really liked, he radically changed the funeral sequence, tightened up some of the fight sequences, tinkered with the sound, not a whole lot, but he ended up cutting like 4 or 5 minutes out of it. And I just thought to myself, it wasn't that long of a movie to begin with, but now it's like an hour and 39 minutes, whereas maybe it was an hour and 45 minutes. But I also bought recently, Arrow Video did a re-release of Cobra, and that's a great movie. George Cosmo.
Oh yeah.
And Stallone, and he's got two of the guys from Dirty Harry in there, and Brigitte Nielsen, and it's a kind of a cult movie at this point, but it's a really solid action movie when you go back and you watch it. And
love the car.
That Hornet's fantastic. But that's another like hour and a half, hour and 40-minute movies. They need to be making these movies shorter. they don't need to be so long, and you could cut down on your budget. And I think part of the fatigue that's going on, with some of these movies, and maybe that's just not superhero movies, but I think movies in general, is that they're just too long. I don't, I mean, back in the day, I understand like a Scorsese or a Coppola or Michael Mann. We all sort of accepted that these auteur guys would probably clock in somewhere around 2 hours. De Palma, but honest to God, every movie, 2 hours. It's just like, even F1, which I loved. There's probably some fat in there that you could cut to maybe make it a little bit tighter. But otherwise, I think especially action movies, I think they need to be shorter.
Well, my thing was with long movies, Oppenheimer was really long, but I was so engaged. The dialogue was so good.
It went fast.
The time went by so quickly.
That's a fast, I never figured I'd ever say this, but it's a fast 3 hours. But there are other movies like that. I know, Ben-Hur, I think that's a really long movie, Gone with the Wind, some of these movies, The Shining, some of these movies are really long. Kubrick typically always makes long movies. But they're sort of economical. They don't feel like you've been sitting. There's a pace, and it's kind of like a rhythm, and they just stick to it. So
okay, so I'm going to talk
a testament to the bad writers that they have in Hollywood.
Oh my gosh,
who can barely string together three. A beginning, middle, and an end. I mean, they always fail. They always open up big. It gets slow in the middle, and then they close with a paltry, half-assed third act. Nobody knows how to do third acts outside of maybe Tom Cruise and Kaczynski and maybe a couple people. But it's amazing how bad the writing is, and I think that's probably more a testament to why people have fatigue. I don't know if it's necessarily superhero fatigue, but I think they have bad movie fatigue. So,
or Pedro Pascal fatigue. And I'm going to get into the FF a little
needs to go away. It's like Jim Carrey. There was
set aside Pedro Pascal's politics. I don't like them.
He's a dork.
I went and saw Fantastic Four, and I went and saw it twice to try to give the guy the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But he didn't like. Oh man, he was just such a dry Reed Richards, and it looked like Mexican Reed Richards because of the mustache. I'm not prejudiced. People that know me, we're both
doesn't look like Reed. He doesn't look like Reed.
Look like Reed.
It made no sense. He checked a box, and that's how they got a budget. I understand wanting to attach a star because that's how you get meat in the seats.
Well, and we also got this right here.
Or I can bring you in cold.
He was great in that.
I mean, he didn't really have to act that much in that, but he still had that same kind of drone thing. If Marvel was smart, they'd put the helmet on him and make him the Maker, Reed Richards.
That the first season of Mandalorian is near perfect. There's a couple episodes in there which are kind of but I mean, even then they're very good. But especially that pilot, it's stunning. And he, that sort of drone, that sort of voice that he takes on in that movie,
that works
perfect for the character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, what I want to see is a prequel to The Mandalorian. I want to see all of the jobs that guy's been on for the last year and a half or whatever, just on his own.
That'd be cool.
But at the same time, I love the lone wolf and cub aspect to it. I mean, that was immediately what I saw after when I discovered
that old Japanese series, right?
Yeah, exactly. Baby Card Assassin, which I read, the comics when they re-released those in the 80s through First Comics did those. Frank Miller did all the covers with Lynn Varney.
Oh, did you really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an omnibus of that. I'm sure there's a collected works of all those. But I've still got a lot of those issues. But I had never seen anything like that before. That kind of artwork, that Japanese artwork, it was amazing.
Now say what you want about Multiverse of Madness, but here's a Reed Richards.
And the smartest man alive, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Hello, Stephen.
Stephen, your arrival here confuses and destabilizes reality. The larger the footprint you leave behind, the greater the risk of an incursion.
incursion?
An incursion occurs when the boundary between two universes erodes, destroying one or both entirely. From our experience.
Now, there's a guy, because I asked my sons and a lot of people about, what did you think of Pedro Pascal? And they really liked him. I said, but he had that monotone delivery compared to John Krasinski. So that's showing that you can be smart and be scientific. And I just think he lacks it in the delivery. On that movie, the Human Torch all of a sudden got real smart, and he can now figure out alien languages. He wasn't gay. I'm not against gays, don't care. But he's with, like, he likes the naked alien girl and figures out her language. Right. So he's like a fellow scientist.
Polymath. Wow, amazing. That's amazing.
You know, and so and the Thing, I for sure don't like that guy's politics. The Thing in the comics did not cook. He did not cook. In one of the later, in like 2017, I saw they put out a Clobbering Time omelet. I had a picture of that somewhere.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, that was more of a nod to the actor. I forget his name, but he was in The Bear as a restaurant owner. So it was more of a nod to him. That Vanessa Kirby's lovely. I think her eyebrows look like two woolly worms, but you know, she's a beautiful person.
Those 90s eyebrows are back in. So
yeah. No, I thought she did a good job. She wasn't really a girl boss, but nobody pushed back. See, on that Fantastic Four, they were more like the John Hickman run of Fantastic Four with the Future Foundation.
Yeah.
And the Fantastic Four on that world was basically ruling the world. So who are you going to call fascist now? You know? And I thought they were pushing the limit when Sue was using her powers to push back Galactus. She's powerful, but I've never known her to not be that powerful. She just couldn't have did it. Now, she was fighting for a kid, and the scenes with her baby, that baby was cute. I mean, and when she spoiler, she kind of died for a minute before Franklin gave her what is it? What is that power called?
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it's called though. Franklin's powers.
The power. Oh gosh, I'm blanking out here. The power cosmic. The power cosmic.
Gotcha.
And you could tell that he kind of gave that to her because her eyes lit up, and then she came back alive. Now, as a parent and a grandparent with four grandkids, you know, that touched me, and I like that. I didn't like the Rose Tika moment where Human Torch goes to make the sacrifice, and Girl Silver Surfer, Surfette, knocks him out of the way. Now they doubled down on Shalabal was in that long in the comics.
Yeah,
she had no balls, and when they recut the scene where she sacrifices herself for the planet, it was a catch-22. They couldn't have showed Norrin Radd, who was her lover,
right,
in the comics.
That's right,
because then they would have said, "Oh, the dad didn't make the sacrifice. You know, the girl did. You know." So I'm sure they didn't want to do that. But where's the father in all these movies? Where's the father in Lightyear? I mean, we could go on and on and on and on.
It's all emasculated. I mean, Disney said that recently that they want boys back, you know, and it's just, well, they don't know how to make entertainment for boys. You know, there are no boys brands. There's no overt boys brands anywhere. I don't see anything even remotely similar to the boys brands that I had growing up. And I mean, just off the top of my head, G.I. Joe, Transformers, you know, Thundercats, He-Man, you know, some of these were billion-dollar franchises in the 80s. So do the inflation, you know, do the math with inflation. What would they be today? But nobody is everything is either, you know, leans toward being female or it's gender neutral. And
And
even when you look at manga, I mean, the rise of manga, the popularity of manga, you're going to sit here and tell me that there isn't an androgyny to manga? Of course there is. You know, I mean, there's a big difference between somebody like Neil Adams or John Buscema or John Byrne, you know, or frankly, some of the South American artists that used to work at Marvel back in the day. These are really masculine artists, and they had this kind of they had this archetypal American style that really appealed to boys like me, you know?
Yeah, and back on Fantastic Four, the first act was a real snooze. Ryan, who's that? Ryan Merding?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce? He does. He's an artist. Ryan, it's Myding something. I'm sure if I said his name correctly, you would know who that is. He does great art.
Okay.
It does a lot of the layouts and the look. And the look was cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't really retro for the 60s because nobody was smoking cigarettes, you know. But, you know, it had a cool look. It was like walking into Tomorrowland.
Right.
I remember my first experience. But
that's what I thought of.
Look can only last so long. I want to see the Fantastic Four do superhero stuff. Now, why did they had the Fantastic Four fighting the two monkeys? They cut John Malkovich's scene. I would love to have seen him as the Red Ghost, and they cut his scene. Maybe once they put it out on video, they'll add some of that stuff
Probably,
back in.
Yeah.
But I wanted some action. I wanted to see superheroes doing superhero stuff. I mean, Ben Grimm was basically sideline, you know, and his voice, it was okay. It's not Mike Chiklis.
It just didn't work for me, man. I mean, that was the first thing I noticed was, wow. I'm like, they didn't even add any kind of effects to it to make it kind of gravelly or rocky, because his insides are all rock too. They're just rock organs and stuff. I mean, it's just, yeah, that just killed me.
The beard was really awful too.
Yeah, what is that about? I mean, what?
Well, that was in. I had to go look.
I know
at
he's had a beard before.
It was in Hickman's run.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And I know why they added it. But
why? Who had beards in the '60s other than like beatniks? You know, nobody had beards, and that's a '70s thing when beards come in. You know,
hipster dudes and stuff.
But whatever. I mean, Feige is never going to leave. He's never going to step down. He's going to have to be challenged by somebody. I don't know, man. They've just lost it. And all you got to do is just go back and look at some of the first Marvel movies, and you can kind of understand sort of the template that they were applying back then, which was, you know, a tentpole franchise centered around a big star who has star power, you know, and that's, you know, that's Evans, that's Hemsworth, you know, that's RDJ. Those are those early films, and, you know, and Hollywood doesn't have stars anymore. You know, they don't, that doesn't really happen. I mean, there are stars left, but I don't see any new stars really emerging on the same level as some of the stars that, you know, obviously you and I grew up with. So it's just not the same.
And Marvel's getting too predictable, and things don't add up. I mean, I wonder if they watch their own movies, because in the Thunderbolts or the New Avengers, I don't know how you can call them Avengers, but whatever, in a post-credit scene, they have the Fantastic Four ship coming into sight there.
Okay.
And nothing at the end of Fantastic Four. They had the Dr. Doom is sitting there with a 4-year-old Franklin. Spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't seen this. And Franklin touches his face. So you know pretty much he's probably healing the scars and turning him into RDJ, you know, which would be a cool thing, because there's some What If comics and other ones, Demon in the Armor and some of those other comic books, which would make up for that. And with Spider-Man coming out, that would be a really good post-credit scene in Spider-Man to lead into Doomsday, for Doom to show up looking like Tony Stark. That'd be the ultimate deception for Spider-Man. But even with that, they're using Yelena in all these movies and all these things, I think they're tripling down on the girl brand, and they said they want Gen Z and they want boys back, but like you said, they don't know how to make a.
They don't know how to make. They don't know how to make a guys movie. I think the Russo brothers are talented guys, but at the same time, I just think they want their cake and eat it too. You know, they want the girls, they want the boys, but they're willing to cater to the girls. Whereas really, you know, all of the action films that we grew up with, and especially probably the 80s and the 90s action films, you know, men want to go see those, obviously, but women have no problem going as well. It's when it's reversed and you have the rom-com that you have a harder time getting the guy to go with the girl. The girl will go with her friends, but to get the guy to go, that's always a little bit of a stretch. But I think that with action movies that are written for men, by men, masculine men, real men, you know what, you know, not the Hollywood writers. Outside of Taylor Sheridan currently, he knows how to write for men.
Oh yeah.
But he also knows how to write for women. I mean, that's a great example of a guy who really kind of creates shows.
Has the balance.
Targeted towards men, but at the same time, the girls are happy to watch. You know,
good-looking guys.
Good-looking guys, masculine guys, but also strong women, you know, women that they can see themselves in. But it all comes down to, you know, the demographic is very different. The two are very different, and they want very different things. You know, the boys want to be the hero. You know, they don't want to see themselves in the hero, whereas the girls want to see themselves in the protagonist, whereas the boys want to be the protagonist. I want to be Optimus Prime. I don't want to see myself in him. He's a robot, you know, but it's like, it's the same with, you know, I want to be Cobra. I want to be Marion Cobretti, you know, and blow the bad guys away. You know, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the demo wants. And everybody at Disney has the same problem as a lot of people in Hollywood. They're all sitting around smelling their own farts. Nobody from the outside gets in, and they don't want to listen to anybody that says, and we'll tell them the obvious, is that you don't know how to write for men. You don't know how to write for boys. You know, you write these emasculated characters, and maybe you're getting some semblance of the female population into the theater, but you're not going to get the guys, and you're never going to get the guys until you make fundamental changes and agree that there's a difference between what the two demos want. And that's okay. But everything's got to be this gender neutral. And I think it's somewhat of a DEI thing and a quotas thing. And I also think it's just a misunderstanding of how to get people into the theater, because you can acknowledge that there's a difference between the genders, but so much of it is just sort of whitewashed, sort of this genderless, gender fluid, you know, and you just end up with this blah, this nothing, this you know, nothing burger that nobody wants to watch. You know, it's like that crazy Madam Web movie. I mean,
that's criminal. Dude. You know, and you know, the bad thing about Madam Web was the costumes were cool.
They were cool.
They were in it for like a minute. You know, I mean,
we don't even understand that the audience, especially the guys, want to see the authenticity in the costumes, and they want to see the characters in the costumes as much as possible. You know, I mean, you go back to Batman. I mean, Batman Begins, he doesn't get into the suit until about halfway through the movie, but at least you've got the rest of the movie in the suit, you know, but you have the benefit of watching how he gets to make the suit, and that's cool. And you get the early iteration where he's just wearing the mask, you know, so it's just, you know, he's more like a ninja, you know? So, I mean, you want to make movies for boys, bring back ninjas. Where are the ninja movies? Remember all the ninja movies in the 80s? American Ninja. I mean, God, I mean, there was countless ninja movies. There was Lee Van Cleef and Tim Van Patten in The Master on TV. There was great stuff. I mean,
the Chuck Norris movies, The Octagon, stuff like that.
They don't get it. You know, they just don't get it. Go back and watch Lone Wolf McQuade. I mean, that's a great 80s movie with Chuck Norris. And he's got, you know, he's got the double barrel shotgun, and he's got that old Dodge Charger truck. And I mean, what a badass.
That and the USA movie too. I mean,
Invasion USA. That movie's
USA.
insane.
That was insane. Blowing up neighborhoods and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
you know,
dude, it was like on the ground. It was realistic type of stuff.
Those neighborhoods that they were blowing up were set to be condemned. It was a neighborhood that they were got an agreement with the city or whatever to film in. But those homes with their shooting bazookas into and stuff, like in the early sequences of the movies, those are all real homes. They were just going to get bulldozed, and there was going to be a new subdivision go in. So they're able to use it. And the same with the mall. It was an abandoned mall that they do that chase scene through, where they drive the truck through the mall.
Yeah.
God, it's insane. That's those Cannon movies are just off the wall, but they're so much fun. And you know, some of them are really cheesy. Some of them are, you know, they're very low budget or kind of mid budget. But they're so much fun, and they made a lot of money back then. And it just goes to show you that you do not have to have a $250 million movie, you know, to be the be all end all of your studio. I mean, take that money and make 5 films on a smaller budget, you know?
Yeah. And what you and I do, I know, because I love your 80s posts and stuff like that. I'll go back and watch those old movies before I'll go into a theater, you know? Yeah. I mean, the one thing about the theater experience, I don't want that to go away, because I saw Lilo and Stitch with my granddaughter and my son, you know, 3 generations of family watching Lilo and Stitch. But yeah, some of the YouTube people, some of the younger, I'm not going to name names, but the TNA cosplayer types, you know, they lost their minds, you know, about the ending of Lilo and Stitch. I liked both.
Yeah.
You know, if you really dug into the movies, Tia Carrera, who was in Wayne's World as well, who played the social worker in the live action, she did the voice of Lonnie in the original cartoon movie.
Oh, cool.
So it's like, you know, you should know this stuff. But, you know, I haven't seen the Minecraft movie. I'm not into that, but it made a bazillion dollars, you know?
Right.
So let's go on to DC. Marvel, you know, Doomsday and all that. I don't know. I'm going to go see it.
I think it's 50-50, you know, whereas it used to be more of a 70-30, 80-20 proposition. These movies were going to be big and huge and successful. Now I think it's just kind of a 50-50. I think they're just throwing shit up against a wall to see what'll stick, and or throwing darts at a board. And I don't know.
With Deadpool and Wolverine in my theater, when Wesley Snipes came walking in, the entire theater stood up.
Another film.
It was like, it's simple. Blade should be, now they got Blade in the Marvel Zombies. He's Moonblade, they're calling him.
Okay.
It's Blade wearing a Moon Knight suit, which is like, they crapped all over Moon Knight. And Moon Knight is, they could go West Coast Avengers, but they race swapped Wonder Man, and I have no interest in watching Trevor Slarty do his thing on there. That pissed me off in Iron Man 3 because he was a really good Mandarin.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden I'm an actor. You know, and I love Ben Kingsley, don't get me wrong, but that pissed me off.
Me too.
You know?
I didn't like that.
Like,
I didn't like that. That was sort of the beginning. That was sort of the beginning of the unraveling, frankly. You know, where I was just starting to. They just take too many liberties, you know, and you know, it's one of those things when you go back and you watch. They're going to re-release all the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies here pretty quick, because that's turning, I don't know, 35 or something.
I own Spider-Man 2.1. Man, that's a great, with the extra scenes with Jay Jonah putting on the suit.
The director's cut of that movie is the way to go. All that extra footage from the fight sequence on the subway is they trimmed a lot of that stuff, and there's some extra action in that sequence, which I think is just, it's maybe one of the greatest comic book fight sequences I've ever seen. And you know, John Dykstra, who's the the VFX guy on all those movies, he was an early guy at Lucasfilm on Star Wars and Empire. He's the man who understood how to do all that stuff back then and come in on a reasonable budget. It's amazing what they were able to do back then with old tech that still looks better than today's stuff, and it didn't cost an arm and a leg like it does today. It's that VFX industry is a complete and total racket, and it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't know where the money goes, but you know,
to Black Rock.
Yeah, somewhere, or but it's
whatever.
It's so bizarre to me that even doing squibs, old school squibs, which were used for bullet explosions. Now it's all a lot of it's digital. It'd be digital squibs and digital blood. But the old style squibs, even those mid-budget movies, those action movies like we were talking about from Canon, like Invasion USA or Delta Force or whatever, they were able to do real effects back then. Now apparently it's too expensive to do squibs and to wire up the actor, and then you might need two shirts. If something goes wrong with this take, you might have to switch out the shirt, so that's extra money for wardrobe. Whatever. I don't know. It seemed to work back then. It seemed to work back in the day, and they could make it work. I don't know why they can't today. It's all got to be digital, and they got to take everything in the computer. It's lame. It's one of those things that Nolan tricked me completely throughout the Nolan verse. Was a lot of those scenes down on Lower Wacker Drive in Chicago, where they shot a lot of the Batmobile chase sequences in Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises, like with the dump truck and everything. A lot of those are 3/4 miniatures. And I did not know that until I saw these guys hunched down in this 3/4 miniature of Lower Wacker Boulevard in Chicago with this little Batmobile and this little 3/4 inch dump truck. And that's all miniatures. But the way they shoot it, and the way they build those miniatures and the way they do the effects and the explosions and all the debris, I could not tell. I could not tell at all. So it's like,
pretty seamless. I wouldn't have known unless you said something about that.
It's one of those things, man. Even when I go back and I watch it, I still can't tell. The only way I can tell is when I look at stills of those guys working inside there and setting things up. And you can literally see, it's funny. It's like that Ghostbusters when Stay Puft Marshmallow Man shows up. That's all 3/4 miniatures and everything. I mean, there's a lot of still photography of those guys working on that set and doing all the detail in the cars and the street. And it's just amazing with the right lighting and the right miniatures and the right talent that what you can do. And I just think to myself, that's old school movie magic. And they've gotten away from it so much because of the relative ease of the CGI. But
it seems to cost more, doesn't it, though?
It costs more, and I just think that in a lot of ways, the more digital, things you add to it, it just becomes kind of lifeless. It just becomes less and less of something that has like a human stamp on it, and then that sort of, I think, takes away the authenticity. So, and I think that's what people crave today more than anything is really authenticity, sincerity, along with obviously good writing and entertainment. But there's a real lack of authenticity, and it's kind of like, do these people that make this stuff, do they care? Do they really care that they're making anything of quality for us? Or is it just a bunch of tech bros back there who are funding all this stuff and saying, we just want to make content? Because there's a big difference between entertainment and content. Content is fungible. It's, it's like fruit, it's going to go bad at some point in time, but great entertainment obviously lasts generations. People are still talking about Casablanca, and
right.
Classic.
Well, like back to that Batman clip, Batman saying they just don't care.
I think there's a lot of truth in that.
We've gotten to that point,
And that's and Justine Bateman has talked about a lot of this on X, and she talks about how
the message overrides good movie making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
But I also think she said something about that the people that are making the movies don't love movies and they don't love storytelling, whereas the Goldwyns and the Mayers and even going into the 60s and the 70s when those guys died and you had new studio heads come in, those people were there because they loved it. I mean, they love the money and they love that aspect of it, obviously, but these people were there for a reason, and that's that they love storytelling and they love making movies, and they took great care in each movie in the sense that, okay, we're going to minimize our risk and get the best talent attached to this as possible. So, and they made twice the amount of movies back then. I mean, the volume of movies that they made back then compared to today, it's even from these series, it's like, yes, Landman is going to be out soon, and I'm excited about that. But how long have I waited for what's going to be 8 or 10 episodes?
The turnaround time
sucks, man. I mean, Magnum PI, Simon and Simon, Rockford.
You get a new season in the fall, the next year.
and you would also get 20 episodes.
Right.
You know, I mean, Magnum, I think like on a short season, you might get 13, right? But like that first season, it's like 19 episodes. You get a lot. A-Team, Airwolf. I mean, you know, the turnaround time on these shows back then, and also the turnaround time on movies was just absolutely insane. And it's largely because you had really talented people who wanted to be there and were really invested. You know, they had the skin in the game. And
I like Stranger Things, but look how long we've waited.
That's my thing, man. The turnaround
is like, it's coming up at the end of the year. Thank goodness.
But I forgot about it. You know, I forgot about it. And
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the last couple episodes because I forget where we're at. You know?
No, I'm with you, man. It's the same thing, and I just say to myself, why don't these people understand what they're doing is not a good formula? It doesn't work. You know, and why don't they understand that you need to go back to, you know, the formula, and streaming has nothing to do with it. You know, it's just you know, it's just basic kind of rules of entertainment. We're going to crank stuff out for you as fast as possible at a good quality, you know, but we're going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. And 7-8 episodes, man, it's just not enough. I just, even Reacher, Tulsa King, you know, I don't care what it is. I got to wait I got to wait a year for this stuff. I just think it's asking too much of the audience. And that's why people are canceling streaming services left and right.
Well, and I just watched something on Prime, Brett, which I encourage you to watch, Butterfly. It's about a father and daughter assassin team. And the girl thinks the father is dead. And then he comes back alive because he faked his death to protect her. Now she's an assassin. And it's from South Korea. Outside the country are making some cool things.
They are, actually.
It's a great series,
yeah.
But it's only 6 episodes and it ends on a cliffhanger. And then I Googled it to see if there's a new season. They're saying, well, we're going to wait and see how it does. It's like, dude, leave me hanging, man. I was invested into this father-daughter relationship because I have 2 daughters, man.
Yeah.
And beside the assassin thing, it was good storytelling to where it underlying it reflected the father-daughter relationship, how she becomes a stepdaughter to this other little girl. You know, it was some cool stuff. It was good storytelling, and beside the kick-ass stuff. And that's where I don't mind. It's she wasn't a girl boss. She was just good at what she did. And they teamed up, which was really cool. You know?
Yeah. I like, I'm liking Dark Wolf because I'm enjoying not only the kind of the James Bond, you know, Jack Carr kind of doing a bit of James Bond, but a team. It's almost like the A-Team meets James Bond kind of. You know, we're three episodes in, but I really like Terminal List. But I actually, when I was watching Terminal List, I kept thinking, I'm more interested in Taylor Kitsch's character, and I don't know why.
I like Dark Wolf more than the
so do I.
Terminal, and I like Taylor Kitsch. I liked him as John Carter.
Yeah,
I liked him as his little Gambit thing. You know, he's a solid
really
actor.
Good, yeah, man.
But I liked him with Chris Pratt. You know.
Yeah, so. I do too. But I'm really liking it, and I like the women too. I like how he writes the women. You know, they're not girl bosses. They're not know-it-alls. They're capable, interesting characters that are have their own motivations for being there, which is different. And you know, they are sort of in the same mold as the female protagonists and action heroes that we had growing up. Because Jack Carr and I are, I think, about the same age, probably either approaching 50 or he's maybe a couple years older than me. But it's the same with Sheridan. You know, I find both those guys write men and women sort of in a similar template that we had growing up, and I think that's great. I think it's refreshing, and I think that's why people like it. So, but Dark Wolf is really good, man. It's fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm into it. I'm just on episode 2 right now.
Yeah,
so,
they need, you know, Jack Carr needs more. I mean, that guy could create an entire universe similar to, I mean, there could be the Carr verse and there's the Sheridan verse, but Jack Carr needs to be creating more stuff. That's a really talented guy. Super talented.
And the story moves good. Okay, well, let's Marvel, you know, wait and see. Doomsday, Secret Wars. You know, Hickman is a complicated writer. I don't know how they're going to pull off Doomsday with no build up to it, really. You know, I mean, I read all those comic books, you know, time runs out, you know, blow up the freaking TVA. I hate the TVA. You know, that was the one bummer about Deadpool and Wolverine. They had to bring the TVA into it. And I understand. I understand why, but I hated Loki season 2. You know,
this multiverse stuff, this multiverse stuff, as much fun as Deadpool Wolverine was, it just drives me crazy, and it drove me crazy in the comics. And but you know,
well, DC had how many Earths, man? Until George Perez rat.
I know.
I mean,
I know George Perez threw them all. You know.
Yeah, and James Gunn is now in his own universe. Let's
the Gunverse.
Let's click it off.
I don't know if you know this or not, but we are old, Bruce.
Okay, well, if you're that concerned about ruining your image, I can confidently say the first thing you should do is never try to pull off saying skibbity ever again.
No cap?
I am this close to slapping you right now.
Well, I have to do something, man. I can't even put on my shorts without it being a controversy. I put my shorts on. No, don't wear your shorts. I take my shorts off. Where's the classic Superman? There's no middle ground. What am I supposed to do? Wear the shorts halfway?
Yeah, that's from our friends at How It Should Have Ended. And I highly, if you want some good laughs, I like that YouTube channel. They got like millions of viewers because it's good. Because my son Steven and I have those conversations about what if you common sense this stuff, you know, and they kind of do that, and they
that's like old water cooler talk
and stuff. They'll have Galactus come up, you know, hit the background or something. I hope you find the dog, and you know, John Wick will show up, and just all. These guys are comedic geniuses. I'm going to give you my impression. I like Superman because, again, I'm a big Metamorpho fan, and they really did a good job on him. And I have hanging on my wall right now Justice League Europe, where Baby Joey was born. Now, they made Baby Joey all green. I think I have a... I got the little Baby Joey figurine my grandson likes, you know. In the comics, he looked like a little mini Metamorpho. It showed Sapphire Stagg and them sitting on the couch. Sapphire Stagg looked great. She was stacked just like she is in the comics. They haven't bought in Simon Stagg yet, but Superman was in the Stagg building, kind of hopping around here. I thought David Cornsweet was a really good Superman, and he wanted to pay homage. I own the video, and it has a documentary. I think he wanted to honor the Donner film. There was just, and of course, Rachel Brosnahan was the perfect Lois Lane. And I liked her on Prime as the amazing Miss Maisel, which is a great period piece, the 50s into the 60s with Lenny Bruce. Her story was about being the first comedian. Anyway, she's a great actress. Yeah. And in that series, you get to see her topless one time real quick. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. But there was just a little bit too much of this in the movie.
You can act like a man. What's the matter with you? Is this how you turn out a Hollywood Pinocchio that cries like a woman? What can I do? What can I do?
I love Bobby Duvall.
I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, Superman, and they had the thing about James Gunn and him having where he was putting his fingers into David Cornsweet's chest, which I thought, yeah, okay. But it said, Luthor, you hurt my feelings. Superman would never say that. Luthor just put a bullet in your friend's head, killed him inside their pocket universe thing, which is why he was holding Metamorpho's kid, you know, and he had captured Crypto. That was one good scene when he came in there. He was almost like Batman. Where's the dog? You know, it's like, where's the drugs?
Right.
So The movie was, I like it because it hit the ground running, and it was more. James Gunn does good ensemble pieces, and I knew going into that this was going to be Justice League. I hate the name Justice Gang. God. I knew it was going to be Justice League co-starring Superman,
right?
With a lot of Superman in it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I liked it. It moved well.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think he was able to, it's like you said. I think that without having to do another origin story, how do you tackle that? And I think he did well. I think that was, from the standpoint of hitting the ground running, like you said, and introducing a lot of new characters without having to do origin stories, which has basically kind of been the template thus far before you launch a team movie, even if it's just sort of your three characters like they were doing with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. It was probably I don't DC's in a tough spot because it's just sort of like how did they get to where they're going where they want to be fast. They probably executed it right, and I think that fast tracking a sequel is very smart. And Man of Tomorrow, I think, is the working title. So hopefully they'll be able to crank out some stuff quickly, because I think that they've got a lot of ground to cover. They got to make up some time, but hopefully they can make a go of it and keep people interested in these films. I mean, I want them to succeed. I wish them all the luck. It's not like I sit here and take
James
pleasure
Gunn
in watching them screw up.
They've got to. James Gunn has got to trust other people. I mean, I went back on the suggestion of, I heard Chris Gore mention it and Gary from Nerdrotics mention the old Super, it was called. It was with that guy from The Office. He was the lead character. I'll have to play put the trailer in here. It was old. It was when Ellen was before Elliot Page. It was Ellen Page was in that. He was a comic book nerd.
Yeah.
The guy from The Office just wanted to be a superhero, so made a superhero suit, and then Ellen Page, at the time, Ellen Page wanted to be his assistant, and it's typical James Gunn. I mean, his brother Sean was in that movie. Michael Rooker was in that movie. All the James Gunn gang was in that movie, but it was more like, what was released also that year was Kick-Ass, the first Kick-Ass movie. I thought Kick-Ass did a better job of that, of a normal person wanting to be a superhero, because he saw injustices. Because with James Gunn's movies, there's a pattern he follows. There's always a bad dad. A lot of times children are in danger, which creates that emotion in there. But let's not overdo it on the emotion. I mean, sometimes he hits the beat, sometimes he hits the humor, sometimes he doesn't. And then on to Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I watched that first episode. My gosh. I mean, it must have been cold in that room, or, or whatever. They had that, it was like a swingers party that just came out of nowhere, had nothing to do with what was going on beside Peacemaker hitting the crack pipe and doing a bunch of cocaine. Then all of a sudden, everybody's honking on each other. And for him to say this follows Superman, kids are going to watch that. And he said, hey, this is not for children. But wait a minute, you're connecting Superman with it. So what's the point then?
I don't know.
And I've been watching Peacemaker, the third episode. I stopped reading Peacemaker after the first issue because in the comic, his dad was a Nazi, not a white supremacist.
Right.
And in this, I can see how they're setting it up, dude. In episode 3, this other dimension. I don't know if you've seen the episodes. Finally, episode 3, something happens. This dimension that they've went into doesn't seem to have any black people in it. It's all white people, and it's like Peacemaker's loving that dimension. I don't know. It may be me overreacting, but it's like, oh, dude, please don't go there. I
wonder how much of this stuff has been in the pipeline for the last 2 or 3 years, and just now they never anticipated that people are going to grow tired of this crap. Those types of things. If that's the direction they're going, I mean, it's like with advertising. You're starting to see it shift back towards what it once was. But at the same time, everybody works like 6 or 7 months in advance, right? Entertainment, advertising, it's like you plan these things and you budget them and you shoot them, and then they come out like 6 months later. So some of this stuff looks a lot like some of the stuff that's coming out, or you see previews for. Sometimes it looks really dated, like that Jessica Chastain thing from Apple. It's just like, how long has that been in the pipeline for? It's been in the pipeline for a while, and it was under an old guard. And now that woke is still, dying, it's not dead yet, right? And it's going to probably try and, stay alive as long as it can. But at the same time, I'm still waiting for everybody to continue to pivot from it. And not everybody has yet, but they will. So
yeah, it's making for some great memes on the Savant thing. I saw one where she's on the screen and it goes, "I see white people."
Right.
I mean, it's like I just saw the trailer yesterday, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna cancel Apple. It's like
it's crap.
It's just crap,
Yeah.
But excuse me, another white liberal woman, doing her thing, and I like her in other movies,
Yeah.
But
it's just
where's this all going? Supergirl shows up at the end of Superman, and I read the comic, and I sent you some of that art. The art on that comic is really good.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It shows why Supergirl is drunk. And I'll give you the basic outline of it. It's like Supergirl. She has this friend Ruthie. I hope they don't make them. They're not lovers in the book. They know they're just friends. But I can see them, twisting that and making them bisexual. Because Peacemaker was sexual in the comics, but it'll be what it's going to be. But they sideline crypto for a while, and let me get one of these. So the premise of the book is that this pirate clan who's in the movie as well, nails Supergirl and sideline crypto with some poison arrows. So crypto sideline, but they have a comic come in later. And which is cool because I have those comics. The origin comic was a centaur back in the Silver Age, got turned into a horse. Supergirl had with a lot of the other pets. It makes for a good movie because it shows how Argo City, where Supergirl lived, was kind of blasted off. Her dad makes the dome. Slowly, the rock turns into kryptonite. They got to take the lead down. So you can see why. She ends up like she is because watching her family slowly die around her. Are you familiar with Tom King at all, or any of his runs?
No, I don't think I've ever read that for Tom.
Yeah, I have his Mr. Miracle. He screwed that up, man. It's like he's an ex-CIA.
Right.
I like Supergirl. Didn't like Mr. Miracle. Peacemaker. Fast Track. Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Yeah. I watched the cartoon yesterday, and in the cartoon they bring in Lobo and Martian Manhunter, which makes sense because Jason Momoa will play Lobo. Lobo's not in the comic, but I could see where they could add him in.
Yeah.
I still think the best Lobo was I used him in my intro. Was from that old sci-fi series Krypton. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The guy who played Lobo, and that was an Australian actor. Now that's Krypton is for the people who are really, really into the L story, because Adam Strange goes back in history. to try to save Jor-El's dad from being killed. So there is no Superman. It's a cool story, and Lobo's in it too. Adding Jason Momoa as Lobo, I think, is a good move. But
yeah,
DC with the multiverse, it's like, where do you think Gunn is going with all?
I think that they probably have some kind of a plan. You know, I know he's talked about some other, you know, their spin-offs, but I'm, you know, they got a problem with the Batman. They've obviously got to establish some kind of a Batman that works within the Superman universe they're creating, and it's the same with Wonder Woman. So those are sort of the, I think sort of the holes they have to fill in order to get where they want to go, which is a full-fledged Justice League where you have those three main characters.
Yeah.
And then you start rounding things out, but I'm sure they have some kind of an idea with the Green Lantern series. And
I like Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. I think he plays a good Guy Gardner.
Yeah, he's
he was good in that. Keep Metamorpho in there because that's kind of like Justice League International. Who is that run by? Oh man, I have it somewhere. Anyway, Justice League International. I really like that run in particular. Mr. Miracle was part of that. Blue Beetle. I've heard talk of Blue Beetle coming back. Yeah. I didn't hate the Blue Beetle movie. I thought because I was a Blue Beetle fan because I had the early comics, and they gave homage to the original Ted. I forget his last name, and the Charlton comics. Blue Beetle too. They gave homage to those characters. Anybody knowing Hispanic families will know that grandmas are really set in their ways. You know, we're both from Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know, Hispanic friends. I've been to many. I had many friends out there, and the grandma was boss in a lot of those cases.
Oh yeah.
So I remember James Gunn setting up the universe, and half that stuff is gone now. Waller's gone. The Authority is gone, which is a good move. The engineer that did Superman, she was part of the Authority.
Yeah.
In the comics.
Yeah.
I think the Authority would have been too risky. I just
makes no sense.
It makes no sense to have that in there, and he took it out. So, you know, maybe he may introduce some of the characters in there later. Who knows?
I don't know. I like some of those books. I love Brian Hitch. I think that's probably why I bought most of those was Brian Hitch. But those are not. That's just not on the level, man. I mean, those aren't characters that's like Eternals. You know, just go with what works. Go with the recognized brands. You know, and put and put your energy into those. And you know, some of these B and C characters, I think it's fine, but at the same time, I don't want. You know, I think that you know you go to a Superman movie to see Superman. And you know, one of the big gripes about Batman Returns was there wasn't enough Batman in it, and I still think that that's the problem with that sequel. But yeah, I want to see a Superman sequel. I don't want to see Superman and his amazing friends necessarily, but I think that's kind of where they're going. And
that was announced, Brett, that it is more of a. I think they'll probably bring in Martian Manhunter. Those type of things.
I think it's fine as long as they're supporting characters and he is still at the center of the story and you know, I think you can make that work and make it fun, but at the same time, you know, we'll see, man. I just some of these people that write these movies, I'm just like it. They're just sort of designed to fail, you know.
And they're letting that Superman movie loose. Like 3 or 4 months before Robert Pattinson's Batman 2. It's like these movies are cannibalizing each other too.
Yeah.
I know. You know? So I didn't like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I didn't like him. He was an okay Batman. He wasn't a good Bruce Wayne. He doesn't have the look for that.
Yeah.
You know, I still think Christian Bale was my favorite Bruce Wayne. The Riddler looked too much like the Unabomber to me. But we got the Penguin out of that. And there's no more Penguin. It doesn't seem like there's no more. What a great series the Penguin was, and now is there going to be a Penguin 2 series? I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. It's very strange, but we'll see. It's they got a universe to build, and this is just the Superman movie is kind of the first step. So we'll see what they do. They're, like I said, they're gonna have to create some kind of a Batman that can interact in that world, and they're gonna have to figure out where they're going with Wonder Woman, in order to, I think, really get where they want to go, which is, sort of what they had with Zach, but a very different tone. And also, I think something that's more accessible to younger people.
But that's the confusing thing, Brett, because I've watched the 3 episodes of Peacemaker, and then going back and making both Suicide Squads canon would put Ben Affleck in as Batman if you're gonna, because they bought in Rick Flag Jr., Joel Kinnaman, in the 3rd episode, which was interesting. And he was with James Gunn's wife. Harcourt is her character or whatever. Right. And they were lovers, and he talked about the Enchantress. So they're saying, well, the only part of canon is just that part, it's like, it's a total confusion. It's a hot mess. So in wrapping this up, I don't think it's superhero fatigue like a lot of the YouTubers are saying. I think it's bad superhero movie fatigue.
There's a built-in audience, and then there is kind of the overflow. So those glory days of Avengers, making $1 billion, and we're so far removed from that, and that high standard of writing and that star power that's in that movie, and a lot of the sort of the first act of the MCU, it's just on a different level, man. And they hired very different people to direct that stuff and to write it. You got Kenneth Branagh and Favreau, some really, really talented people behind the camera on top of talented people in front of it. So, they got to get back to basics. And I just think it's all comes down to the writing. And, if there's anything that good comes out of the strikes and all the renegotiating and all that stuff, it's that they'll be able to fire people and cut the dead weight.
Paramount's doing that, and Lasseter's had a Skydance animation. I always thought they did him kind of dirty.
Oh, totally dirty. And Pixar's never been the same, and it never will be the same. Pixar is a hollow shell of what it was without John Lasseter. That guy's a genius. He likes to
Skydance animation.
Yeah. I mean, he likes to hug people. So what? That guy's going to be just fine, and they're lucky to have him. And I hope that he gets back to where he once was from the standpoint of his storytelling, because he's a genius. But yeah, I think Paramount's a real positive mark from the standpoint of the merger, and
I'm digging their material.
It'll be good stuff. I the winds are blowing in their favor, and they're investing. They're teaming up with Taylor Sheridan out here in Texas on a new studio.
That's cool.
Yeah, out in Ferris, or no, not Ferris. They're filming. They're filming the next Yellowstone spinoff here in Ferris, but they're I think those studios are in Fort Worth, because they're on. Is that
going to be a spinoff with his daughter, the red-haired?
Yeah, Rip and Beth.
Ruth and her husband.
Yeah, Rip and Beth. It'll be.
Dude, I'd watch that in a second.
Yeah, but they spent like $300 million on studios out here, studio space, and so they'll be able to have the capacity to produce like 4 shows consecutively, and then Sheridan's got his 300-acre ranch they can shoot on. So, we had a bunch of tax credits passed out here recently for movies and film and TV. And Hollywood's responding. They're coming out here, and Paramount's, putting $300 million into these studios. So it's exciting. So that's going to be kind of the Sheridan verse. I would imagine that's probably going to be where he's going to shoot most of his stuff. and I'm sure it'll probably bring more. But
and great news comics, the Ripperverse is out there as well.
Yeah.
Eric's
in Dallas.
Great work, man.
It's a lot of fun. I've worked for a lot of indie publishers over the years. Whether it was Chaos Comics or Image or Aspen, and Ripperverse is among the best, if not the best, that I've ever worked for. It's been a lot of fun.
I'd still like to see a cartoon come out of that.
Me too.
I mean, those little bits of it, it's
the promos they do with those. They're really cool, man. I'd love to see a 22-minute episode, of something. That would be really
even
awesome.
With the Soka sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cool. Do good work too.
Yeah, man. It's fun.
And in wrapping this up, we don't want to forget your significant other. Lisa D. Pasquale has a book coming out. I went to Amazon. I will include a link on this. It's all about Generation Xers.
Yes.
And who did the cover for that, Brett?
I did. Yeah. I did the illustration. We did a kind of an homage to Risky Business, the original Risky Business poster, which was done by the famous Drew Struzan, who did all of the Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars posters and stuff. So, but it's the Generation Handbook for middle age, and it's available for pre-order on Amazon. So. Cover turned out really cool, and it's a great book as well. It's a lot of fun. So it's got a lot of humor in it.
So I encourage all you boomers to watch it, because we're pretty close to Generation Xers, latchkey kids, or whatever you want to call that, But you guys still, I mean, the generations aren't that different. I mean, even the Generation Xers, some of them still had dinners together and all that. I think what changed in the 80s was the no-fault divorce law, unfortunately. And I mean,
this at 70s, I think that's the 70s, because the 70s were like the peak divorce periods. It's like it was like 50-60%. It was nuts. But we were free range kids. We were we grew up maybe a little bit faster, but at the same time, I don't think that's a bad thing. So I think in a lot of ways we had the best of both worlds. So I don't have any complaints.
Yeah. So Brett R. Smith, hey, thanks, buddy, it's always good talking to you. And
you too.
Another fellow Phoenician.
Hail to the king, baby.
What the hell are you two doing? That's called rocking out. You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
And this is Dr. Gonzo for all you baby boomers. Hey, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you right around the corner.
Hi, my favorite DJ, Dr. Gonzo, is on the air right now. Dr. Gonzo is live Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The doctor knows what you need. The true classic hits of the 60s, 70s and 80s. So tune in to gonzoradiopequa.com 24/7. Buy the ticket and take the ride, because that's just what the doctor ordered. Tune in worldwide on the internet of Spotify.
Hail to the king, baby.
What the hell are you two doing? That's called rocking out. You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
And this is Dr. Gonzo for all you baby boomers. Hey, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you right around the corner.
Hail to the king, baby.
What the hell are you two doing? That's called rocking out. You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
And this is Dr. Gonzo for all you baby boomers. Hey, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you right around the corner.